Hi, we are happy you are joining us for another edition of What's Next? Living Longer, Better, Smarter. This time out, taking on higher living costs with new skills. Made possible by GetSetUp, a place for active older adults to learn, connect, and share. I'm Fred Fishkin, along with Mary Furlong. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Fred. We have some wonderful guests and a good friend joining us who I think everyone will enjoy hearing from.
Lawrence Kosick is the co-founder and president of GetSetUp. Really great to see you, Lawrence.
Great to be here, Fred. Thanks for having me.
And also joining us is Greg Olson, acting director and commissioner of the New York State Office for the Aging. Thank you, Greg.
Oh, thank you, guys. Pleasure to be here with you today.
Thank you both. Lawrence, what a remarkable story you have today. GetSetUp is 2 years old, and I've been amazed at what you've accomplished. It's making a difference for more than 4.5 million learners and thousands of classes. What is the secret to what you do, and how has it grown?
Great question, Mary. Well, I think that, for a very long time, the older adults, we believe, and my guess is Greg would concur, have been a very underserved audience. And we all work very hard to think about what we can do to help as many older adults as possible get what they need to live happy, healthy, more connected lives. And I think that we just have a team that is so passionate about this mission. We get to work with wonderful folks like the state of New York who are so passionate about what it is they do. I think that we're doing good work, we're making a difference, and we're really providing a service that enables older adults to help other older adults learn whatever it is they need to learn. So we're really empowering the whole category, and rising tide seems to lift all boats.
Greg, you have such a terrific background. Maybe you can share some of that with our audience.
Sure, and it's a pleasure to be here with Lawrence and his team. It's been a fantastic partnership. Yeah, I got lucky that it seemed to be the right decision. So I've been the longest serving director of the Office for Aging in New York State history and across the country, frankly. Prior to that, I was the chair and legislative director for the chair of the New York State Assembly Committee on Aging. And prior to that, I ran a variety of statewide organizations, advocacy organizations that served older adults, whether it be through community organizing, lobbying and advocacy at the county, state, and federal level, nutrition policy, and a lot more. But I started my career in 1992, so it's 30 years ago, as a case manager in the Aging Network. I'm a gerontological social worker, and I've devoted my life to working with older adults and their families.
Well, you and Lawrence are going to be part of an American Society on Aging presentation, ASA, on advancing economic security through reskilling and upskilling older workers. Give us a snapshot of the impact of the higher living costs that we're seeing today. We're certain everybody is feeling it, I think.
There's no question that they are. And, the older adult population is not a cookie cutter group. There are certainly those that have resources, and there's those that do not. And so I think that there's a lot of ways, including what we're trying to do at ASA, is really talk about not only the value of the older population, which I think when you put the data behind it is stunning to people who, traditionally in this culture have been brought up to believe that older adults don't have anything to offer. Take more than they give, and at whatever point after you retire, that you're not valuable anymore. And the economic, social, and intellectual data just do not back that up. And we'll talk a little bit about that at the ASA conference. On this particular issue, where you talk about older workers, there are 8 million jobs available out there that older adults, whether it be starting an encore career or wanting to go back into the workforce, either full-time or part-time, for economic reasons, for interconnectivity reasons, or just to give back their lifelong experiences, certainly should be considered. Everybody is dealing with price increases, and there's a variety of ways to do that. So what ASA is going to really talk about is the opportunity for older workers to re-engage. That obviously will be economically beneficial. Our partnership with GetSetUp is critically important. I mean, in a year, we went from 0 to 87,000 users in a year. And the top 10 things that people are using GetSetUp for, among their hundreds and hundreds of classes, are those things that promote health and wellness, management of chronic diseases. That's going to have a direct impact on out-of-pocket costs, utilization of the healthcare system. But we do so much more as a network in trying to help people with benefits and entitlements. We've created a whole litany of entitlement videos so people at home can apply for things that they are eligible for, and their taxpayer dollars have funded their entire lives. Like SNAP, for instance, the average benefit could put over $2,400 in somebody's pocket every year to buy food. The Medicare Savings Program, we put $95 million into people's pockets last year. So you put all of these things together, there's ways to reduce the amount of costs that not only go out the door through better health and activity and social connectedness, but there's things that people are eligible for that they paid for when and if they ever need them. And our job is to help get them connected.
I feel good about this connection today because I've been a member of ASA for almost 30 years and was there right from the beginning when we started the Business Summit 20 years ago. And when I looked at the needs around economic security and I looked at the skills that GetSetUp have, it would seem like a perfect session at ASA. And so we're very excited about this. And, I drove up to see my son today, and gas prices are over $6 a gallon in California. And food prices are there too. So as prices have gone up, older adults are really feeling this. They're really feeling the hit. So talk a little bit about how these prices and also some of the ways GetSetUp can help with skill development.
Sure, I'd be happy to take that one. So, Mary, the way we think about it is if we can help older adults get access to whatever products and services they need to learn to first get online, get into classes, and then learn job skills that they may want to learn because they'd like to continue working and making some additional income, which it right now helps more than ever as prices continue to skyrocket. But they can also learn the things that Greg also outlined, which is, how to stay healthier at home, how to order their groceries at home, how to use telehealth services, manage chronic illnesses. We think about the health and wellness of our older adults rather holistically. So it's socially, it's physically, it's spiritually. What do they need? And what can we help access to make them live healthier, happier, more connected lives? And it's everything from learning basic tech to the services, products and services to live productive, healthy lives at home. And for those who need to continue working, which is, it's a great many of our 4.5 million monthly users, they're taking job reskilling and upskilling classes so they can continue to make money. It's quite important these days.
Greg, I want to come back to what you said about the bias against older workers, because in fact, they have some of the best work ethic. And right before the call, you were telling us about Atlanta and Kansas City. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so, we always try to, make sure before we start any topic, we talk about the value and the return on investment, the value of the population globally, right? Because you would not have a state, national, or local economy without older people. They support 90 million jobs. They have $9 trillion in spending, both on the cash side and also the volunteer side. They are a huge proportion of the federal, state, and local tax base. And then they just have, thousands of years collectively, family experience, work experience, and life experience to share. And so one of the things that, we took a look at were, again, not coming from a social worker perspective, but coming from people who are economists that do these projections for a living. And there were two studies that came out from REMI, Regional Economic Models Incorporated, one in the greater Atlanta area and one in the greater Kansas City area, where they looked at what's the return on investment if 1,000 retirees moved into the region versus 1,000 younger people with kids. And this isn't a pitting older adults against younger people. It really goes to the root problem that we are an ageist society and we focus all of our attention on younger people. And what it showed is a 10 times greater GDP when you bring older adults into your community. They bring their Social Security, their volunteerism, their discretionary income, their home equity, and they're not using the most expensive services, which is the schools and public transportation. And so that data is clear. And it really goes into, again, supporting and trying to combat what we have been taught from an early age for hundreds of years through cartoons, regular media, print media, television shows, that this is a population that takes and doesn't give, and it's actually exactly the opposite.
And there are so many jobs that are going unfilled out there today that maybe many seniors aren't even being considered for, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of working with folks like Lawrence and AARP and others. There are quite a few resources for older adults specifically to help them on the technology side. You can learn this stuff. I mean, I do, and I'm not technologically savvy, but I can learn it. Older adults do use technology. They can learn it. They have a lot of skills. They have a different type of work ethic. They grew up at a different time. They have a lot of experience. So you just take, if you have a job, for example, you could hire 2 older adults part-time if they don't want to work full-time. You don't have to pay them or provide health insurance because they're already receiving those type. They're actually cheaper. Turnover rates are less. They're more reliable. They come to work more often. They know how to interact with people and interact with the public. And those are some things that, again, not to paint the younger generation globally, but I know we all have challenges. It's just different generationally. And this is a workforce solution that I think people have not looked at. There's a problem. We know what part of the solution is. And given the economics just generally, but then the pandemic and the price increases, this is certainly an area, a go-to area.
So Lawrence, talk a little bit about your thoughts on ageism and the perception that older workers can't work with today's technology. You found just the opposite, right?
Completely, and absolutely agree with everything that Greg just said. We believe that if you're 60, you're 70, you're 80 years old, you have skill, you have wisdom, you have knowledge. If only there was a safe, secure place where you can share this. I think that it is so important to harness all of the skills and the expertise that this demographic has. And Greg just pointed out all of the advantages that you as an employer can experience when you do hire this demographic. And at GetSetUp, we're just proud to be able to sort of do our small part in enabling this. And really, that's just unlocking the skills and the wisdom and the knowledge that these folks have, and enabling them to share it so that they can teach others like them, and they can help solve sort of this labor shortage that we now have, for which they are perfectly suited.
Some of the people at ASA will know me as the founder of SeniorNet, and some may know me from Third Age. And we certainly share that same perspective about the power and wisdom of older people. While technology is a powerful tool, the knowledge and wisdom is a really important tool as well. Talk about some of your partnerships with state and local governments. This has really happened in New York, but other states as well, right?
Yeah, I think we just try to go where we can be most helpful, and folks like Greg truly understand the value of this population, if only given the tools and the resources they need to unlock all of this. And we've tried very hard to collaborate with as many area agencies, local and government organizations as we can, and particularly during the pandemic, where this demographic was really impacted, perhaps more than others. Having a platform like ours available in rural locations and local locations and at the state level, so that they could get online, they could get access to the products and services they need. They could also unlock talents, make some extra money, learn skills to go and make that extra income that they need to pay those bills. I think it's been wonderful to sort of be available at a time when the states have been looking for offering more virtual options. And we have both, I think, a little bit of good timing, but also I think an idea that really does allow older adults to empower other older adults in this live interactive setting, which has been somewhat unique. So it has allowed us to work with really cool partners like Greg and in other states.
Terrific.
I want to bring up one more topic, which is the chronic disease management. So as the boomers are 76, you see multiple chronic conditions. And that has a big impact on the budget in New York, right? If you are treating an unhealthy older adult population. So do you see people taking classes to manage health and wellness?
Absolutely. So, I mean, this isn't a New York problem. By 2040, nationally, chronic conditions will cost $860 billion a year. They're manageable and the most preventable. We have been operating a variety of what we call highest-based, evidence-based interventions. Chronic disease management is one of them. There's diabetes self-management. There's powerful tools for care. There's a whole bunch of them. And we're actually in conversations now with Lawrence and his team at GetSetUp, being able to offer that virtually. The pandemic has virtually put a stop to in-person classes and getting people to go through these types of things where, you know, there are small things you can do to really make a difference in your overall chronic conditions. But I can tell you just from our caseload, and this is not the general public, you know, the average person that we serve is an 83-year-old low-income female who has 4 or more chronic conditions, upwards of 6, 7, and 8, and have functional limitations that are absolutely able to maintain themselves in their homes and community and at higher levels of care with things like chronic disease self-management, home-delivered meals, the GetSetUp platform, and many other types of things that really provide a coordinated approach to aging in place. And that's what this should all be about, is putting your emphasis on the prevention and not waiting for people to get so sick that they wind up on Medicaid and you can't go back. And we as a society have not done a good job on focusing in on the front end, the prevention side. We do a very good job on focusing on the reactive end, which is waiting too long. And I think that's what really needs to change.
I agree. I think after the COVID, as people came out, they finally get back to the doctor. And it's like taking your car for repair after it hasn't had its regular maintenance. And there's a long list of things that need to get fixed. So, well, what an amazing vision, right, Fred? Don't you think this is incredible work?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Greg. And Lawrence, thank you for the remarkable work that you and your team are doing. The website is getsetup.io. And I want to mention one of the great things that you've done, Lawrence, is hold a Get Set Up session to provide information on how people can help the Ukrainian people and the refugees. Really impressed with you doing that for your audience.
It's the least we can do to help create awareness and to help older adults, not only in our community, but obviously in Ukraine and around the world.
Can I just add one more thing, if there's time?
Absolutely.
So anybody watching the podcast from New York, our partnership with GetSetUp is fully subsidized. So go on to their site and register, and we will take care of the cost of those classes. It's an amazing platform. We could not be more pleased with the growth and the partnership we have with Lawrence and his team, and we're going to continue to build it out here in New York.
Well, congratulations on the work that both you and Lawrence are doing. Mary, our next guests will be able to tell us even more about some of these issues. Cindy Morris is Vice President for Development and Community Engagement at the American Society on Aging. Hi, Cindy.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me.
And we're also happy to have back with us Beth Sanders, founder and CEO of LifeBio. Hi, Beth.
Hi, Fred. Hi, Mary. Hi, Cindy.
Hi. So Cindy, let's start with you. Tell us more about the upcoming ASA Conference on Aging. You're focusing on advancing economic security, and many older adults are facing this issue, correct?
Absolutely. You know, when we drill down into what ASA focuses on, we always talk about 5 key priority areas. Last year, we talked about one of those being justice and equity. And this year, we're talking about economic security because it is so intimately connected to health equity and access to healthcare. It is so intimately connected to finding your place in fighting ageism, when we talk about job security, when we talk about getting jobs, right? And then, of course, it is also deeply tied into access to technology, which we have seen over and over again pre-pandemic and during the pandemic, the incredible role technology is playing in older adults' lives. And so as we look at economic security, we don't just talk about retirement savings, right? We are looking far beyond that into ensuring that people can live a life of dignity and strength as they age, and what it takes to get to a place in which they can do that. Whether it is, living within community, whether it is accessing the care, and then of course also, what does it mean to be a caregiver? And what is economic security as it relates to caregiving?
And we've been talking about it in this episode, what we've seen with the cost of living and price increases for everything that we all need, it seems. It's almost scary to go to the market these days. So I guess this is very timely.
Yeah, it's funny, when we chose this topic, who could have foreseen the rate of inflation that we were about to hit? Nobody saw a war on the horizon happening in Europe. We had no idea that gas prices would be going up over $6 a gallon in some parts of our country. However, that is the reality we're living in right now. And as we think about anybody living on a fixed income or a fluctuating income, all of us are feeling the impact of what our economy is doing right now.
And of course, I'll be with you virtually in New Orleans. And we've been a part of ASA since my whole career. And we're privileged one year to win the top leadership award. But many startups and organizations find the ecosystem at ASA. And there's lots of reasons people go, lots of reasons people exhibit. We hope to be back with you live in Atlanta next year. But Beth, tell us what role you'll be taking at ASA this year.
We are really excited to be at ASA. And I just want to say, from back in a number of years ago, I had the honor of meeting Dr. Robert Butler at ASA. And it was a life moment for me, right? Such a superstar of the aging world. And so for us, our life story work has been evolving over the last 20 years. And so we'll be presenting at ASA research that we've done in conjunction with the Benjamin Rose Institute on Aging that is really tied into dementia care, where we have a new app, and people living with dementia actually helped in the development of this tool to capture stories. So we're excited to present this research with our research partner, and it'll be exciting to just talk about how personalizing social engagement is what's happening today. We have to reduce loneliness. We have to make it so we are just more engaged with each other. Yesterday, I was at a veteran event for the occasion of March 29th, and I was just going to say that the stories that came out of that event, we just have to tap into. We have to tap into our stories because there's so much strength. Like Cindy said, whatever your economic background, the resilience, the optimism, the purpose, that comes when people have a chance to share who they are with others.
People might be able to glean a little bit about the company from what you've just said, Beth, but for those who might be newer viewers or listeners, give them a quick overview of what Life Bio is.
Life Bio captures life stories for better health, and just to make it easy for people to really truly know each other and to help with quality of life and quality of care. And we have a special focus on people living with cognitive challenges or early stage dementia, so that we can get that story told and it can follow them if they need further care.
So I love the magic of ASA. I love the people of ASA and love the history. I'm sorry not to be there in person, but Cindy, congratulations on pulling this together, because it wasn't for the faint of heart who could organize a conference, have some people have travel restrictions and others be able to show up in person and have it all come together. But it seems like the momentum's building, and I know you're going to have a lot of success next week.
Thank you. Yeah, we have almost 2,000 people joining us next week. So we can't believe the response we've received. One of my favorite parts about this is the fact that so many people keep saying to us, we missed being together last year when we had to do this virtually. We are ready to be back together again. We're going to miss you, Mary, because you have always been a very big part of our On Aging conferences. So this year's going to be different. Mary will not be there. But so much is happening. We have over 300 sessions. We have stages with sessions that aren't going to be in the workshop rooms. We have keynotes with Ai-jen Poo speaking. We have keynotes with, I mean, the list goes on and on. I can't even list everybody. And just we have so many events, whether it is lunch and learns, whether it is the dinners afterwards and the networking sessions. I had a program today where we were talking to new members, and what I said in that program is, I accept hugs. And so I want to say that one more time for all of your listeners, because we have had 2 long years of being very separated from one another. And the thing that is really important is reforming those connections and regathering in a space in which we can collaborate and we can work together to determine the future of aging. And that's what's about to happen in 2 weeks. And that's why we're so excited. So we hope that people can join us. If they can't join us in person, we do have a virtual option. And we hope, that's the good enough version. But man, if you can be there, we want you there.
And of course, last week we did the Canadian Brain Health Conference, and over 800 people came virtually. And we're going to start our own academy soon and our Longevity Venture Summit. And we think that there will be a large global audience. So if the COVID did one thing, it taught all of us how to work in a hybrid world. So Fred, aren't they impressive?
Very much so. Where's the best place for people to go, Cindy, for more information?
Absolutely. The easiest thing to do is to go to onaging.org. Again, that's onaging.org. You can always go to the ASA website, which is asaging.org, but our conference website is onaging.org.
And Beth, for you?
They can certainly visit lifebio.com. That will get them there.
And actually, Beth and I and GetSetUp are all hosting a virtual, well, you'll be doing an in real life dinner. I'll have to replicate that here in California, but I know you'll have fun at that gathering. And it's this gathering is large and small that the deals happen. And of course, you all are doing deals every week. So, okay, Fred. So thank you so much to these wonderful guests.
Before we go, Mary, we had spoken briefly with Lawrence from GetSetUp about a session on the platform that provided info on helping people and refugees in Ukraine. There are many organizations trying to assist. UNICEF is one, Doctors Without Borders. President Biden met with Chef Jose Andres on his recent trip to highlight the work of World Central Kitchen.
CNN and others have links available, and we want to encourage everyone to do anything they can.
And we want to thank GetSetUp for making this edition possible. Find them at getsetup.io. A reminder that you can find us along with our newest podcast series, What's Next? Longevity Deal Talk, at maryfurlong.com/podcast.